Oh, hey everyone, it's Rexer here. I just want to say there's only one show better than the Rexer show, and that's Glenn's Retro Show. And you know how I describe his show in one word?
Excellent. Okay, thank you for joining me on today's episode of Glenn's Retro Show. And today we're going to take a look at the Tiny Arcade Atari 2600. Now, this I got at Cracker Barrel. It was $21.99. I think it came to $23 with tax. I know some people have gotten a little bit cheaper at Target for like $19. But that's okay. This was the only one I've seen. I went to Target multiple times. I went to Walmart's multiple times and Cracker Barrel multiple times. And I walked in today and I saw just one. And I scoped every single shelf. I did find one. Unfortunately, the package is not a Glenny standard. The package is damaged, but this is the only one I could find. So, unfortunately, Glenny had to get a damaged package. And we all know, Manuel Pixel jokes all the time about some people care about the packages. He knows he's talking about me when he's talking about that. And Manuel Pixel doesn't care about the packages, but I do when I'm collecting things like this. But in any case, I was able to secure one. And what they're showing here, they show the a small 2600. It's got a small TV set in it with a screen, which I think is a really neat idea. This was actually shown last year at the consumer, I think it was E3, with Arcade 1-Up.
Within that window. And I just want to show you really quickly the new micro line of consoles down there. So what you're seeing right now are miniaturized TVs with fully functional miniature consoles. Intellivision, ColecoVision, Atari. These are all the iconic consoles you remember on retro style TVs in a smaller form factor. Sub $30 price point.
So we thought maybe Arcade 1-Up might be carrying this, but it looks like it's still going to be Super Impulse and their smaller Tiny Arcade line. And again, they're showing 9 Atari games, including a bonus game of Pac-Man. Now, I have seen some videos of this already, and I'm disappointed in a couple of ways, which I'll probably get into in the video in a minute. But still a really neat idea that they did this. So here is the package that we have right here. And again, they do a nice job. You get to see what's in it. Now, what's different this time, though, is you can't try it. Pretty much all the other Super Impulses, you can hit the little button or hit the joystick, and you get an idea of what the gameplay is going to be like. This one does not do that. There's no way to to play it at all. It's in there and it's turned off. But you can see the box right here. You still share the world's smallest Atari 2600 Tiny Arcade, 9 games, bonus Pac-Man, which again is really pushing it because the 2600 Pac-Man is pretty piss poor. Smallest fully functioning desktop arcade console. It says 10 games total. It does say Atari 2600. We can see right here, console with 10 programmed games, TV and joystick. And we can see right here, it looks pretty cool. We can see the screen. It's late 70s, early 80s, more like an old 70s TV set with the rabbit ears on top. A small Atari 2600 here with the red button on there, which is your like a reset. And a joystick, and it's nothing is proportional. It's just kind of neat. The joystick is much larger here than the console would be, but the joystick is probably going to be pretty hard to play with anyway. But again, nice colors here. This is like the 80s version of the 2600, where they got this like gray and red there for it. And on the side here, if we can get on the camera really good. I'm still messing with my camera angle, so I do apologize a little bit. Still learning how to do videos like this. But we do see the screen here, color screen, and the screen does pop to give you an angle so you can get a better viewing angle when playing it. The classic 2600, it's only a 4-switcher though. If you're going to say the classic, it's got to be the 6-switch Super Impulse. This is the 2600, but not the classic. High resolution display, again, they're showing the really bad version of Pac-Man on there and other games here on the side, which I can tell by just looking at them. A lot of these are not on the Atari 2600. They're like arcade ports. And that's kind of where my issue is. If you're touting a 2600, you should have the 2600 ports. Now, if you want to put 20 games and show the 2600 version and arcade or better versions, that's fine. But when you're selling this for nostalgia as a 2600, the only game so far I'm really noticing is like Combat and maybe Pac-Man from the 2600. So that's kind of what my stickler is with the game. You can see right here, it was at $21.99 here at Cracker Barrel. And again, we can see the games. I'll get a little closer here so you can kind of see the games on here a little bit better. We can see Centipede, which is definitely not the 2600 port. Missile Command is absolutely not the 2600 port. Breakout is absolutely not the 2600 port. Asteroids is definitely not a pure 2600 port. Combat looks like it might be. Warlords, I'm not quite sure. But again, I have another problem I'll talk about in a second. If I even opened it, Millipede is definitely not. And Tempest is absolutely not the 2600 port. In fact, there was never an official 2600 port of Tempest. That kind of came later as a homebrew. But again, the package is pretty still nice for a Super Impulse. Again, this one is slightly damaged. We can kind of see over here, and it's kind of buckled in, but I couldn't find it anywhere else. And just some warnings here on the bottom. And they do include batteries. We'll take it off the Super Impulse. They always include the batteries. So that's it for the actual case and my little rant before I even looked at it. I'm kind of talking bad about it, having actually opened it. And I've always said in my other videos, including my video I just did with some other things for Super Impulse, that I've never been disappointed by stuff they made. And I already feel like I'm already a little disappointed because it's not the official 2600 ROMs that are on here. It's, they've done recreations, I get that. But again, you should at least try and make it closer. Now, playing devil's advocate, Glenn, at games, everyone else has already done so many ports with 2600 games, and I get that. But then you shouldn't really tout this as a tiny arcade 2600, because someone buying this today will play it and think these are the games you would have played in the 2600, and that is absolutely not true. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. So let's open up this thing right here, and we'll take this out. So the box, opens up pretty good. You can see, oh my God, the flap is coming right off. Oh my God. Oh boy. I'm sure I can fix that, but that's not good. That's not good. The box. I know Glenn's insane. So we'll get the box out of the way. I'm really sad about what conditions that's in. And we can see in here, they have like an old shag rug, which is kind of nice. You can see the unit in here now. Another problem I have here with Super Impulse, which usually been pretty good with, is you were able to, excuse me, get the console out without ruining the box. And again, Metal Pixel did the video already, and the box is going to get ruined somewhat to get the 2600 out of here. And we have some instructions. Is it instructions or just their catalog? It looks like, it's just their catalog, which I've shown many times before. But, they do have a lot of really great products on here. So, open up, stuck. So that's kind of cool, that they have things like this, which is kind of nice. But I didn't see an instruction manual, so I don't know if there actually is one. Not the 2600 really does need a manual, but let's just take another look around. There was no manual anywhere, shape, or form. But here is, again, it looks like a carpet on here. And, the wood paneling. And, of course, my basement, everyone in the 70s and 80s had paneling. But it is securely, looks like it's glued down or taped down. Let's see here. It is glued down. So there was glue on here. So this is going to get slightly ruined. And there's a string on the bottom. What's that string for? Oh, that was to the joystick. Interesting. Okay, I guess you could have to have that. All right, so I don't have a choice here. If this is gonna be bad for me because I got to rip the box open here. Oh my Lord. Oh my God, this is horrible. I'm ripping up the box. There's no way to. Oh my God, this doesn't really want to come open either. For people like me, is it taped down too? Maybe. No, it looks like it's just glued down for the most part. There is some tape on this thing here. Oh my goodness, Super Impulse. What are you doing to me? Okay, there we go. I'm trying to open it as best I can and get the console out without destroying everything, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like I gotta do the damage. Joystick. Here we come. And if the cord comes out there, 2600. And it looks like this tape is going to have to come off. I don't know if I'm going to do this, so. My God, Super Impulse. This is, you've got smaller things that are easier to steal than this thing. And there we go. Okay, so we have, oh yeah, you got to ruin the box, pretty much ruin the box to get this thing out. And that's pretty sad from my perspective, because I do collect these things. And see if I get this thing out here without totally destroying the box. Okay, so we got the 2600 out, the AV switch box out, but now we still get the TV out. And how are we going to work on that TV? That looks like it is taped in for the most part. So let's see if we can do this without really causing too much damage here.
20 minutes.
You know what? This is really annoying what they did here. This thing is, it's a toy, and they've had their other machines. They didn't do this kind of job to it, and this is really annoying to try and get this thing out of here. This is taped down like it's a $500 toy. And it's just a friggin' small little device here. And quite honestly, this is really ticking me off quite a bit. Alright, after like 20 minutes, I'm trying to get all the... They taped this thing down like it's friggin' Fort Knox, and it was really actually annoying. But the box is, you know, more or less okay, I guess. For the most part. In any case, so much for the box. So we finally get to the actual unit itself. And let's see if we get this thing on camera here. So here is everything you're going to get. We have our little joystick. You know, and I will say it's got a positive feel to it. It's got some clicks. So they put some little micro switches in here, and that actually feels pretty good. Probably better than the real stick did. And you got the button. So that's good. It's very light, but it does have a cord out of it. So there's definitely some wires going through that into the console here. And the console, these little small switches, the 4 switches don't do anything. No switches on the back for the difficulty. But it's a pretty good representation of the 2600. And that's our, I assume, our reset button down here. But that looks pretty good. And then a very too short. I mean, too short. This is our AV box. Now, back in the day, you had to switch this back and forth. You know, go TV and back. But that cord is just too short. It should be, if anything, have it further back here on the TV set. So that's another gripe I'm going to have. So sorry, Super Impulse. And we have our TV set here. And, you know, it looks pretty good. This is where everything is obviously in. This is where all the weight is. And we have our fake aerial antennas. That could probably did a little bit better a job on that. And the screen here is supposed to pop forward. And there it is. Just so you can make it easier to see, you know, when you're playing it. You see how it sticks up over here. And here's our main on-off switch and small legs. This is kind of nice. You know, the legs come down like so. Oops. You know, it sits something like that. This should have been a little bit longer. Again, just because this annoying me that switch box is so close. And then we have our console, and then we have our joystick that doesn't want to stay in its spot. Let's see if we do it like this. Yeah, get everything in the camera shot for a second. There we go. So here is the unit. You know, it's neat. Now they also had shown a ColecoVision and an Intellivision, I believe, but this is the first one that's come out so far. So I'm assuming in the future there will be an Intellivision version and a ColecoVision. What may be said about the ColecoVision is it's not going to have Donkey Kong on it, apparently. But, all right, let's get to turning this thing on at this point. So, hit the switch here and see what happens. Oh, did I pull the thing out of the back? I did not. There we go. There we go. Super Impulse presents World's Smallest Atari 2600. And I think it's coming through fairly well on my camera here. And, oh God, I got to get real close. I'm old. And it says press to start. So it's saying press this button here to start. So we'll do that. And see, I'm trying to get all in the camera for you guys to kind of see everything. Because it is tiny after all. I'll move it back even further. Like so. Okay, so we have our joystick here. I'm going to try and get my hand out of the way. And the thing did already go in standby mode. There we go. I have to turn it back on. So I will say, the screen looks really, really good. I have it far away from me right now so you guys can see it. But the screen does look pretty good. Can't complain. I'm going to hit the button here. And I have to get kind of closer to see this. So we have Asteroids, Pac-Man, Warlords, Tempest, Pong, Missile Command, Millipede, Combat, Centipede, Breakout. Go back to Asteroids. So I'm not sure what the left and right does. It doesn't do anything. But I assume they meant up and down because that's kind of what it did. But it looks like they want you to go left and right. So I'm going to hit the button on here. And I can tell you right now, this is absolutely not the Atari 2600 version of Asteroids. So hit the start button again and see what we get. Okay, so it's a recreation of the arcade Asteroids. So it works like the 2600. You pull back, you had hyperspace. And I know I'm trying to get the camera to get everything in here. So here's the thing. I do like the arcade Asteroids better than the one that was on the 2600. but this is an Atari 2600 Mini. You know, it's a Super Impulse 2600. It doesn't belong on here. At least you should have the original version of the 2600, and they say this is what you could also get in the arcade or something along those lines. So I'm disappointed that it did not have the asteroids on the 2600 because it's a misrepresentation of what they're showing here. So I'm going to go back here, and we'll go down to, I'm going to go down to break it. And it's actually weird. When you press down the joystick, you go up. When you press up, you go down. I would expect pulling down to go down in the menu. So that's bugging me too. So I don't know if it's me today, but I've just always said they never made a product that disappointed me, and I'm a little annoyed already with this one. Now I'm going to go to Breakout, and the starting option, I'll go into option, speed, I'm going to leave it at slow, paddle, I'm going to make medium, and I'll hit start. Now here's my next gripe. This is Breakout. This is not the 2600 version of Breakout. You know, it looks like it might be a recreation of the arcade, but the arcade used a potentiometer, a paddle. And I can't stand when they put paddle games using a joystick. I've complained with that games about it and all the flashbacks, and I'll complain here. If you're going to put paddle games on a system, have a paddle. The joystick is not how this game was played. So hit the button. You know, and again, I understand it's just supposed to be a little thing, not really supposed to play a lot. But if you're going to make a system and try to make it like it, at least have a paddle. Have one joystick, one paddle. So when you're playing these games, you can experience it kind of the way it was meant to be done. It just bugs me when companies do this, and someone who never played this before says, oh, he plays with a joystick? That's dumb. No, it was played with a paddle. So this is already bugging me as well. It looks nice. I mean, it plays a little bit slow, but it's on a tiny screen. And again, I understand it's not supposed to be like a big 2600, but if you're selling it as something, it's what I expect. It's the same thing with movies, you know, with like Star Wars. Those new movies were horrible. They weren't Star Wars to me. The new Star Treks weren't Star Trek to me. This, to me, is not an Atari 2600. I hit the reset button again, and it's powering off. I don't know why, but it did. So I have to wait for it to come back. I'm going to press the button. And we did Asteroids, did Breakout. I'm going to take a look at Centipede. Hit the button. And again, this is absolutely not the 2600 version of Centipede. So I hit the button on here. And man, it's first of all, it's playing super fast. But all right, so it looks like it's a recreation of the arcade again, not a version of the Atari 2600. It looks nice. You know, if I didn't expect to play 2600 versions of the games, I probably would like it, but that's not what I'm expecting. Going down now to Combat. Now, Combat was the pack-in with the 2600 from Atari. If you got Sears, which they had, it was like a clone version or, you know, just a repackaged one, it came with Target Fun. But this is Combat. We hit the button on here. And we have Start. Let's start easy. Tank visibility on. We'll leave everything here as default. I'm just going to start. Now, the thing is, with Combat, it was a two-player game. Two-player game. So, I don't know if the computer's controlling the other one, which it might be. I am the blue on the right-hand side, it appears. Okay, so the computer's controlling the other one. But in the original version, it was a two-player game, so I can kind of be okay with them using a computer to control the tank. But at least this does look like the 2600 version of Combat. So this one gets a pass. It's got the right sound. The tanks are very simplistic. Now the thing is, on Combat, there was more than just the tank game. There was fighters and jets. So now that'd be total nitpicking. But at least this one looks like the game that came in the 2600. So I'll give that a thumbs up. So I'll press up with the joystick to go down. And we'll pick Millipede. And again, this is not Millipede on the 2600. This looks like an arcade recreation. Hit the button on it. Again, it plays okay. It does play okay. But it's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting to play a 2600 version of this game. Again, not bad. It looks fine. You know, it's got the low frame rate. All the Super Impulse ones generally have a lower frame rate. So that's to be expected. But this TV set looks kind of nice. I like how you can flip the screen a bit forward. But I'm not happy so far with most of the games on it. Now, if anyone knows me, knows I'm a big Missile Command fanatic. And this 100% is not Missile Command from the 2600 at all. It looks really a lot more like the arcade game, which, again, if you sold it as 2600 Classics on a small little machine or a small arcade machine, that might have been better. The 2600 Missile Command did not have 3 bases at the bottom, had 1 base. It did use a joystick, though, so I'll give them that. And the game looks like it's a pretty good recreation on a small screen of the arcade version of Missile Command, as bad as I'm doing. I will say the joystick is very responsive. You know, it feels, it's small, but it feels okay in the hand. I can do it fairly well. But again, as nice as that looks, and as nice as this looks, this is not the 2600 version of Missile Command. Now I'll go to Pong. Now, Pong officially was never really released on the 2600. It was only in the arcade. Pong was on Video Olympics. It was a cartridge. So let's just see what we got here. We have option once again. We have paddle option. I'm going to do a full paddle. And that's it. So, I mean, it's okay. I mean, the Video Olympics Pong and this Pong I'm actually okay with. And Glenn, that's... You know, this is, you know, you've just been blasting it for it, but the Atari did come with a home console of Pong, which will look similar to this. Again, this version of Pong was never officially released on the 2600. They did have a dedicated home console, and of course the arcade. The 2600 was Video Olympics. But again, this used a potentiometer, a paddle controller. It would not have used a joystick. And that's still where it's going to get a dig from me, because using a joystick to play paddle games. There were over 1,000 2600 games. Heck of a lot used joysticks. That's what you should have put on here. You shouldn't put paddle games on here so people think this is how you played the game. Again, I'm not happy with that. Tempest. Tempest was never released officially by Atari. It was a homebrew. And this 100% would not have been possible, the graphics seeing right now in the 2600. And so I can tell you this is a recreation of the arcade, which also used, guess what? A paddle, not a joystick. But again, it looks okay, and you know the control's okay. You're not going to be sitting down and having a big game session. But if you're going to do this, you can have one joystick and one small paddle next to it, right? And then I wouldn't be complaining as much. So that was Tempest. Next thing we have here is, I think that's Warlords. Warlords, okay, and this is not the 2600 version of Warlords. This is a clone of the arcade, which again, not only used 1 paddle, not 2 paddles, not 3 paddles, but 4 paddles. Hit the start button on it, and it looks like I'm down here. I'm using my joystick in a very weird way to do this here. Again, this is just really bugs me. Now I'm going to hold the start button, the fire button down, because I should be able to hold the fireball if it comes to me. And it did. So I can hold it. But again, I'm using a joystick for a paddle game. So already, I don't care what it looks like. It's not the 2600 port, and it's not a paddle game that should be on here with using a joystick. So I'm not doing good here. Again, it's $20. I get it. It's really not to be played like this. So we're already going through 9 games, I guess. And I'm going to number 10 already. Have I really gone through all these games already? Millipede, Missile? Yeah, it looks like I really have. So the last one here is Pac-Man. Now, I will say, out of all the games you put on here, you put on the worst of how Atari had to offer. You put on Atari's Pac-Man. All the other ones on here were arcade recreations. Now, of course, Pac-Man would have been, midway, maybe as a licensing thing. But there was a homebrew of Pac-Man that was excellent. You threw on the crappiest cartridge, Pac-Man, as a 2600 true port, where just about everything else on here was not a 2600 port. And that wasn't the title screen. But this definitely looks like the crappy, although, man, it's running really slow. Okay, so if you can see it on the screen, which you can. I mean, this is definitely the bad version that we all know of Pac-Man that was released by Atari. But the frame rate and the speed is very, very slow. I say maybe it's running at 60% of the speed on the real 2600. But the joystick works well. The flicker's all there. But I'll give my final thoughts already. I like the concept. I hope that the Intellivision one and the ColecoVision one does a little bit better here. But when you're selling a world's smallest Atari 2600, and it looks like a 2600. And 9 of the 10 games are not number one from the 2600. Only one is, and they're all recreations. I get it. None of these are the actual ROMs, the recreations. But you recreated 9 games from the arcade, 1 from the console. That's the first thing. The second gripe I have is you have a lot of paddle games on here, and they shouldn't be using a joystick. That will never get a good review for me from that alone. The positives, it's $20. You might get it for like 19 or less. You know, when Walmart generally carries these, they're around $12 to $13. Maybe get them even cheaper. I mean, the TV set looks nice. I do like how the screen can be adjusted so you can see it a little bit better. I like the legs that stick out. I do wish the switch box here, which is it's non-functioning. Oh, no, it powers it off. I didn't even see that. Did that? Was that what happened? I'll turn this thing on. I'll hit this again. And did I power it off? There was no manual in here, so I don't know. No, it didn't. It just happened to be it's time to go, I guess, shut off. So you have a switch box here, which is kind of cool, but it wouldn't be sitting on the floor. It would be on the back of the TV set. So it would have been better to have that switch box, you know, stuck back here, something like that, because that's how it would have been, you know, on the real deal, something, you know, something like that. But now the cord's not long enough for this. So again, I know it's a little tiny toy, and Glenn, you're being overcritical, but I'm number one annoyed about the damn box. I had to destroy the box to get this out of here. I really am. But there's nice little things on here, like, you know, the screen comes out, the legs go down. So overall, I mean, I'm gonna give this a 5. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 because it's not good, it's not bad. It definitely could have been an 8. I would have given it an 8 if it had the actual 2600 games on here. As simplistic as they were, you're selling this for that nostalgia, and the games are not representative of the console. The other 2%, you would have gotten a total 10 if you had paddles. As a matter of fact, I might have given you a 10 just putting paddles on there, just because it should have it for those games. And for people saying, Glenn, the joystick's small, they can't do a paddle that small, I can tell you for a fact they can, because I've made paddles this size for myself. A video I'll be showing later on down the road. So if I can do it, they could have done it. So this is the first thing I'm going to say. I'm a little disappointed from Super Impulse on. It's a nice concept. Hopefully there are other ones in the line will be better. But as far as the 2600, I felt like they shortchanged it for you, me, and everyone else. Because when you're playing this, you're kind of expecting to play those simplistic games. You're not expecting to get, you know, the arcade recreations on here. So for me, that's a bit of a disappointment. So Super Impulse, you know, I'm a huge fan of yours. I've always purchased your items. I purchased this as well. But I am disappointed with this. People make their own decisions. I'm not telling you to buy it or not buy it. I'm saying, me personally, I'm disappointed from the box I had to ruin for no reason. You had so much tape and stuff holding it down. No one's going to be sneaking off with this device in their pocket. Your tiny arcades would have been snuck out easier, and that package just opened right up. I'm disappointed that you went with the arcade recreations versus actually the 2600 games. And I'm disappointed because you have paddle games without a paddle. But the pluses, it is a nice screen. I like the, you know, everything's connected this way. I'll leave it at that. So that's it. I'm finally disappointed with something from Super Impulse, and that's kind of sad. That's it. So, again, I thank you all for watching for my rant here tonight, everyone. Please remember, if you liked the video, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Remember, family and friends come first. Remember, always tell them you love them. And then after that, you can always game on. Maybe not with this, but you can game on.
Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.